Voicemail lit up my phone at 10:47 p.m. I wasn't expecting anything, certainly not from my sister, Emily. I tapped play, and within seconds my chest tightened. Her voice was casual, sharp, dripping with the arrogance I'd grown used to over the years. Just pretend we care until she covers the house repairs. After that, we're done babysitting her mess. Laughter followed. A few different voices. My father's chuckle, my mother's sigh, my brother's sarcastic, "Exactly. Let her think she's needed." Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I froze, staring at the wall like the words had physically struck me. They weren't talking about some neighbor. They weren't talking about a stranger. They were talking about me and Emily. She'd sent the message directly to me by mistake. My throat burned. My family had been showering me with fake concern for weeks, calling every day, asking if I'd managed to schedule the contractor, asking if I had money set aside. They acted like they cared that the roof was collapsing and the plumbing was ancient. In reality, I was nothing more than their safety net, the one they used, drained, and discarded when convenient. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat there staring at the blue glow of my phone. A hollow laugh escaped me, but it was laced with something far darker. They thought I was clueless. They thought I'd swallow the poison with a smile. I deleted the voicemail. Then I leaned back in my chair and whispered, "Fine, I'll let you think I'm still blind." The next morning, the kitchen buzzed with forced cheer. Emily was already at the table, dressed like she'd walked out of a magazine, stirring cream into her coffee. My father read the paper, pretending not to glance at me. My mother smiled tightly, the kind of smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Morning, Claire," Emily said, her voice dripping with syrup. "Rough night, you look tired." I met her gaze, let silence linger just long enough to sting, then forced a smile. "Didn't sleep much. Thinking about the house." My father folded his paper. "Yes, we were actually talking. If you can just manage those repairs, it'll be such a relief for everyone. The house has been in the family for decades. It would be irresponsible to let it go downhill." My brother leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Yeah, Claire. You've always been the responsible one. Unlike the rest of us." Laughter rippled across the table. My nails dug into the underside of the wooden chair, but I didn't flinch. My heart thumped so hard I swore they'd hear it. I kept my voice level. "Don't worry. I'm handling it," they relaxed, satisfied. They didn't see the storm brewing inside me. That night, I picked up my phone and dialed one number, the only person whose presence could shift the ground beneath their smug feet. My husband, Nathan. He answered on the first ring. "Claire, what's wrong?" His voice carried warmth, concern. He never missed the tremor in mine. "Nothing's wrong," I whispered. "I just need you at breakfast tomorrow and bring David, the lawyer." There was a pause. Nathan's tone sharpened. "What happened?" I told him nothing. Because some reveals deserve to be served cold, not explained over the phone. The next morning, the dining room smelled of pancakes and bitter coffee. Emily sat scrolling on her phone, my father scolding her for texting at the table. My mother hovered over the stove, rehearsing the role of the caring matriarch. And then the front door opened. Nathan stepped in, tall, calm, radiating authority in his tailored gray suit. Behind him, David followed, clutching a leather briefcase. The clatter of forks against plates stopped. My family's eyes darted between each other. Emily frowned. "Claire, what's going on?" I folded my napkin slowly, deliberately, savoring the silence before the storm. Then I looked each one of them in the eye, my voice steady, sharp enough to slice through the tension. "You wanted me to handle the repairs? Don't worry. I already did. And while I was at it, I handled a lot more than you expected." My father stiffened. "What's that supposed to mean?" Nathan placed a hand on my shoulder, not to shield me but to remind me he was there. David set his briefcase on the table, unlatched it with a crisp snap, and began pulling out papers. The room felt colder. My family's smiles faltered, and that was exactly how I wanted it. The snap of David Ross's briefcase echoed like a gunshot across the breakfast table. Emily's phone slipped from her hand, landing screen down on the polished wood. My father Richard narrowed his eyes, the paper still clutched between his fingers like a shield. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice rough, laced with suspicion. Nathan didn't answer. Instead, he slid a chair back, pulled me to sit, and stood tall beside me, like a barrier they could never break. David laid out a neat stack of documents. His voice was cool, professional, but carried the weight of finality. "These are the official filings signed and notarized. Effective immediately, all authority over the Mitchell family property has been transferred." Silence. The kind that thickens the air until breathing feels like betrayal. Emily leaned forward, eyes wide. "Transferred? To who?" I raised my chin, letting my words land like steel. "To me." The room shifted. I could almost hear the crack in my mother's perfect facade. Her painted lips parted in disbelief. Richard's paper slipped from his hands, fluttering to the floor like a fallen flag. Dan, ever the loud one, barked a laugh. "You don't be ridiculous. Dad runs this family. Always has. You couldn't even afford—" Nathan cut him off, his voice sharp, firm. "Careful, son. The title deeds are in Claire's name now. Every inch of that house you take for granted belongs to her." Dan's smirk faltered. He sank back in his chair, though his glare stayed fixed on me like daggers. Linda's voice broke through, shrill and desperate. "Why? Why would you go behind us? We're family, Claire. We only wanted to help." My hands trembled, but not from weakness. From restraint. I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "Help? Is that what you call it?" Because what I heard was Emily laughing about pretending to care. What I heard was Dad calling me irresponsible. What I heard was Dan using me like a safety net. "Do you want me to play it back for you?" Emily's face drained of color. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her carefully crafted confidence unraveling. You don't understand. That was—" I slammed my palm against the table, the sound making every coffee cup rattle. "Don't you dare insult my intelligence with another lie. You said it. You all said it. And you thought I was too clueless to notice." Richard's face reddened, veins standing out on his neck. "You've always been dramatic. Taking things out of context, twisting them. You're not strong enough to carry this family. You never were." Nathan stepped closer, his voice calm but edged with steel. "Strong enough? She didn't just carry this family, Richard. She saved it. The bank records prove it. Every bill you left unpaid, every repair you ignored. Claire covered it, quietly, alone, without once asking you for gratitude." David tapped the papers with his pen. "And now legally she holds the rights. If you want to live here, you live under her rules." The words landed like a hammer. My family, the people who had dismissed me, used me, mocked me, sat in stunned silence. Emily finally snapped, her voice trembling. "So what, Claire? You're going to kick us out? Is that it? Is this your big revenge?" I let the question hang. The temptation burned in me like fire. But instead I steadied my breathing. My revenge wasn't about throwing them on the street. It was about showing them that their betrayal hadn't broken me. It had forged me. "No," I said quietly, every syllable deliberate. "I'm not throwing anyone out. But don't mistake my kindness for weakness again. This house, this family name, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to me. And you'll treat me with the respect I deserved all along?" Emily's eyes brimmed with tears, though I couldn't tell if they were real or just another performance. Dan sat stiff, jaw tight, seething with anger he didn't dare unleash. My mother clutched Richard's arm, whispering something under her breath, but his glare stayed locked on me. Cold, hateful. Nathan finally leaned down, his voice low, his hand resting gently on my shoulder. "They underestimated you, Claire. Let them sit with that." I swallowed hard, my chest rising with a strange mix of pain and triumph. The girl they thought was blind had opened her eyes, and now they were the ones who couldn't look away. The breakfast table was no longer theirs. It was mine, and deep down, they knew it. Emily broke the silence first. She shoved her chair back, the legs scraping the hardwood with a shriek. "This is insane!" she snapped, her voice trembling between outrage and fear. "You think one set of papers makes you queen of the house? You think you're better than us?" I held her gaze, calm while her mask crumbled. "I don't think I'm better. I just finally stopped letting you all treat me like I'm less." Dan slammed his fist onto the table. The cups rattled again, coffee spilling over the rim of his mug. "This is a joke. Claire, you've always been the fragile one, the quiet one. You can't handle power. You'll ruin everything." Nathan's jaw tightened, but I raised my hand to stop him from speaking. This fight wasn't his. It was mine. I leaned in, eyes locked on my brother. "Funny. You call me fragile while you've lived your whole life off other people's effort. Tell me, Dan, what have you actually built? What have you done besides mock me?" His lips pressed into a thin line. He had no answer. Linda's voice wavered as she tried to intervene. "Claire, sweetheart, this isn't you. You're letting Nathan and this lawyer put ideas in your head." "We're your family," I laughed bitterly. "Family? Family doesn't laugh behind your back. Family doesn't use you until you break. Family doesn't send voice messages about pretending to care." Emily flinched at my words. Her face turned pale as if the memory of her own voice burned hotter than my accusation. She started pacing, arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You don't understand the pressure we're under. The house repairs, the taxes, it's too much. We had no choice but to rely on you." I stood, the chair scraping back with purpose. My voice rose, sharp and cutting. "No choice? You had choices, Emily. You had plenty of them. You chose to live carelessly. You chose to spend money like it grew on trees. You chose to look down on me instead of standing with me. And still, I carried this family on my shoulders." Richard finally pushed his chair back, rising to his full height. His presence filled the room, his tone booming. "Enough! Claire, you've embarrassed us long enough. You think you've won some victory with your lawyer tricks? You're still the little girl who needed us to survive. Don't fool yourself. You're nothing without this family." The words sliced deep, but they no longer had power over me. I met his glare head on. "No, Dad. I'm nothing because of this family. And I became something in spite of you." His face went red, his jaw trembling with suppressed rage. He opened his mouth to fire back, but Nathan's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Careful, Richard. You're forgetting your position. You don't own this house anymore. Claire does. You raise your voice here, and you're doing it under her roof." David, still calm, slid another document across the table. "This one's a bit harder to swallow. Effective immediately, the financial liabilities are also redirected. If you're worried about taxes, Richard, they'll no longer be Claire's burden. In fact, certain accounts in your name show troubling neglect." Richard's hand trembled as he reached for the paper, scanning it with wide, furious eyes. His voice cracked. This is a setup. She's turned you all against me." I shook my head slowly. "No, you did that yourself. Every time you chose pride over kindness, every time you pushed me aside, every time you let Emily and Dan mock me while you laughed along, you built this wall, not me." Emily's eyes darted between us, desperation taking over her anger. "So what now, Claire? You sit at the top while the rest of us grovel? That's what you want?" I softened my tone just enough to sting. "What I want is respect. Real respect, not fake smiles at breakfast. Not whispers and secret chats. From this moment on, you either treat me as your equal, or you watch from the outside while I run what you thought you owned." Emily's lips parted, but no words came. Dan stared at the table, fists clenched. Linda's eyes welled with tears, but she didn't defend me this time. She was too busy trying to process that her carefully balanced image of control had shattered. And Richard finally lowered himself back into his chair. For the first time in my life, my father looked smaller than me. Nathan bent close, his voice low enough only I could hear. "They'll fight it, Claire, but they already know they've lost." I straightened my spine, feeling the weight of years slide off my shoulders. For once, I wasn't the outsider at the table. I was the one holding it together. The house had new rules. My rules, and this family had no choice but to obey them. The tension at the breakfast table thickened until the ticking of the old wall clock became deafening. My family, once so smug, so sure of themselves, sat frozen, each of them waiting for someone else to break the silence. I stood, letting the weight of my presence command the room. My voice was calm, steady, but it carried enough power to slice through their silence. "Here's how it's going to be," I said. "This house is mine. Every repair, every bill, every signature, it's under my control now. If you want to live here, you'll follow my terms. No more secret group chats. No more fake concern. You speak to me with honesty, or you don't speak at all." Emily's nails drummed nervously against the table. "And if we don't agree?" she asked, though her voice cracked halfway through. I tilted my head, a small, humorless smile tugging at my lips. "Then you pack your things. Because I won't live under the same roof with liars pretending to care." Her mouth opened, then closed again. She looked at Richard, waiting for him to roar back like he always had. But he didn't. His eyes were fixed on the documents in front of him, the weight of his own negligence staring him down. Dan muttered, "Unbelievable." But he didn't stand. He didn't challenge me. Not this time. Linda finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Claire, please, don't destroy the family. We can do better. We can change." I locked eyes with her, my chest tightening. A part of me wanted to believe her, to cling to the fragile hope that they could mean those words. But the echo of Emily's voice message still rang in my ears, raw and undeniable. "I'm not here to destroy the family," I said. "I'm here to save myself from it. If you want to be part of my life, prove it. Not with words. With actions." For once, no one had a clever comeback. No one laughed. They all just sat there, the reality of their own cruelty pressing down like a storm cloud. Nathan stepped forward, his hand warm on my shoulder, his voice firm. "Claire's not asking for perfection. She's asking for respect, something you should have given her years ago." David closed his briefcase with a snap, signaling the end of discussion. "The legal matters are settled. The rest is up to you." I glanced around the table one last time, at Emily's pale face, Dan's clenched jaw, Linda's glassy eyes, and Richard's hollow silence. And then I said the words that sealed it all. This house will no longer be a place where I'm mocked, used, or dismissed. If you stay on my terms. If you can't accept that, the door is right there. No one moved. No one dared. I turned to Nathan, my chest finally light, and whispered, "Let's go." Together, we left them sitting in the wreckage of their own pride. As the door shut behind us, I felt it. The shift. For years they had underestimated me. But now,